tonight we're going spooky. And I needed a good spooky. And I was gonna wait or maybe even like never do this one because this one's so popular and like everybody's talked about it. But then I was like, fuck it. I just really love this movie. So I'm gonna watch it again. We're gonna talk about the fucking conjuring, you guys. Like,
You love
Game of
this movie?
I do. I
Oh God.
really love this movie. Now, I will say, mainly the first act, maybe first and second act, like when the hauntings really starting. The way they played with shadows in this movie, like, and music, and just how they played with the camera, even with like that they have this little mirror thing and how it shakes to the way it's spinning causes your eyes to look different areas where they like literally there'd be nothing there, but you're staring so hard that it almost gives your mind a chance to like put something in, you know? So I just love
Yeah.
that. I love how they played with that. Now I will say third act, ugh, it's not great. It's not great. Like,
See, yeah, I'll agree. The camera work and you're right. The way that they played with shadows was really interesting. I severely disliked the music in the movie, but that's because I dislike the way that some scary movies, when you're utilizing music and sounds, right, that are obviously made to make your audience feel a certain type of way, feel uncomfortable. I feel that a lot of horror movies that are kind of in the same genre of like spooky, scary, ghost haunting kind of stories, a lot of times they use the music like a fucking hammer. And
mm,
like I know like and I feel there were a lot of points in this movie where I feel if they would have just let it be silent, that's way scarier to me. And it
yeah,
well, to me personally, it's way scarier because the way that my bipolar hallucinations work is that if there's nothing in a space, if there's nothing visually or like auditory that is stimulating my mind, the chance for me to have a visual or an auditory hallucination rises up substantially. So hearing music or like seeing like actual things happening is not scary to me because that's just input. But if, especially the point when they're like in the basement, every time they're in the basement, they use such these huge, heavy
yeah,
sounds that are supposed to invoke that scary, creepy, spooky feeling in you, but it's like, you don't have to hit me over the head with a hammer with it. If they would have left that shit silent and you would have just heard the scratching and like them running and like stomping trying to get up the stairs and stuff, that would have been a much more visceral like reaction
yeah.
versus you trying to manipulate me into being scared. Like if you would have just used the cool camera work and the shadows in those moments, it would have been a way better movie in my opinion. Like stop using these stupid little fucking tricks to do shit. I don't That's why I like Bloomhouse and A24 because they don't use those stupid ass, well some Bloomhouse does, but like they're more like, you know, fancy shit like Midsummer and like, you know, the art
Yeah.
bro bullshit. It works so well for them because they don't hit you over the head with the hammer of those feelings. They like let you make your own interpretations and feel spooky on your own.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that. So let's get into this. So when the movie starts, and okay, so I take this back too. Rewatching this, okay, let me start over. All right. The movie starts with the fucking Annabelle doll. Um and I hate this doll anyways, but I remember in 2013 this being a very exciting thing because it was kind of like, oh, Annabelle's gonna get her own movie, but like The Conjuring was first, so it's like, we're getting a taste of the Annabelle doll, and it's so fucking creepy. It's not. First of all, I hate the avenue they went with the Annabelle doll.
It's just
The fact
ugly.
they
It just
made
looks
her so
dirty.
like, first of all, dolls have their own creepy appeal, anyways. Like, they're they don't need to have their skin painted gray, and like, like this doll's so obviously something nobody would ever fucking buy,
Yes.
like
Yes.
that it takes away from this creepiness. Like, I don't like it. They could have honestly, porcelain dolls are just fucking creepy. You could have just grabbed any regular one and it would have fit just fine. Like,
Speaking of, I just realized that I left the light off for the kitchen, and if we're talking about this shit, I gotta go turn that light on so I can see and close this door. Because the last thing I want to do is fucking trigger myself
well,
and
since
start yelling for B to come up here and be like, "Do
oh,
you?"
all right,
Sorry,
no,
I
you're
just
good.
looked up and it was like black darkness, and I was, God damn it.
All right, so they started off, it's the Warrens kind of talking, but they're at the Annabelle apartment and they're showing you scenes. It's these two girls and
They're
they
like
come
interviewing.
home. Mm-hmm. And no, first they're telling their story on the couch,
Yeah.
talking to the Warrens, and then as they're telling a story, it turns into like a flashback moment, and like they come home and the Annabelle doll's on the floor with crowns rolling out of her hands, and they're like, "What?" And
It kind of introduces you to who Ed and Lorraine are, as far as
yeah,
like, oh, these people are like, they're interviewing them for a reason, like they're doing something, right? Like, it doesn't really explain exactly what they do, but it gives you an idea of like, oh, these people are
yeah.
like some type of professional something or other. And then
Well,
I
I was
think
trying to remember the whole Annabelle case, but she's in there before that. Oh, they find notes.
Mhm.
Then the girls are screaming, like a door slams in their face or something like that. I
Well,
don't know.
they so they walk into their apartment
Yeah,
and they find like a note that says like, come play with me or some shit. And then they're walking down like the hallway, it's all black, and then they see the Annabelle doll and they're like, we
it
didn't
said
fucking,
"miss me." That's what
yeah,
the note
did
said.
you miss me?
Miss
Yeah.
me?
And like the Annabelle doll, they're like, we didn't, we put her in the spare room. Like, why the fuck is she out here? She's got like crayons in her hands. And then I think they
Yeah.
go into the spare room and it's
And
like
it's trash.
red, yeah,
Yeah.
trashed, and there's writing all over, so miss me, like there's writing all over the wall. Like,
So then they throw her in the trash can.
mm-hmm.
And then the next thing they're laying in bed and there's bangings at the door. So of course you're like, oh, Annabelle's home. And they're coming out and they're going slow and stuff. And you're like, don't fucking open the door. She's gonna be there. And they open the door and nobody's there. And the roommate's standing in the hallway and they're kind of staring at each other. And then right next to the roommate's face, that door bangs. And you're like, oh shit. And then they open that door and Annabelle's in that room. And they just start screaming. And then it cuts back to like that's when you get more of the Warrens talking, and they're at a college now. And it's like pictures of Annabelle up, I think. And it's they were talking about the case to the college classroom, and you're getting like a demonology lesson here because they're
Yeah,
talking
they're
about how
lecturing. Yeah,
yeah, they're
they're
talking about
lecturing.
how Annabelle wouldn't have been a spirit. It would have been an unhuman entity that and they don't because spirits can't possess inanimate objects. Only demons can, and the demon's trying to possess you. It's just trying to get an in. So never trust talking dolls or children. It's probably a demon. And um, then it pops up with the like lettering, the whole face on it's like boom. And it's like Ed is the only non-ordained exorcist recognized by the church, and then his wife Lorraine is a clairvoyant. And then we see a family moving into a beautiful home. And it just jumps. So they're in Rhode Island. and as they're running inside the house, because they're moving the moving trucks there, the dog won't come in. And I was like, believe your animals, man. Your animal won't fucking go somewhere. Nope. Burn it down. Like, get out of town. No. But they don't listen. Um, so they're all running around the house, and they got a shit ton of kids. They got a lot of girls. And
all 5 girls, yeah.
yeah, and they're one's looking for her wind chime, so she's running around each room, and you're kind of seeing each person. And she runs outside to hang up her wind chime, and there's a creepy tree in the back by their beautiful waterfront property, and the tiniest girl's in the tree, and she's found the creepiest fucking looking music box. It's like a little circus hut, and they're like, come inside. And she comes running inside, and you're like, already, we're finding creepy objects, and the dog won't enter the house. This isn't gonna go well for them, not even a little bit. Like, so then it jumps to the girls are playing this hide and seek game where the one's blindfolded and they have to clap. So she'll like hit one and they clap once, and then they're like hiding. And the mom's like, be careful, this is a new house. And I'm like, it is the 70s, so moms probably wouldn't say much more than that. But
Yeah, let's walk around blindfolded.
right, in a brand new house. And I'm
This
pretty
big
sure they're
ass
playing
house.
upstairs too. Like,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, I was like, but wouldn't we at least say go downstairs so you don't fall
Right.
downstairs?
Or block the stairs off or
Right?
something. Like, hello. How did anyone fucking survive this time
Yeah.
period?
Okay. So then they're hiding. So she's like, clap once, they clap, and so she hears a clap, she starts going, and this is where you get it. The creepy music starts, so you know something's about to happen.
Give it away.
And she hears a clap coming out of one room, and I don't think like it's the music like something's gonna happen, but then like nothing happens, and she hears another clap, and that leads her to a closet where her sister was, and she's like clap again, and the sister claps, and then she's like got you, and pushes her hard as fuck, causing the sister to fall through the wall. Like,
Jesus Christ.
and then I love it because so they're like, oh shit, shit, shit. So then the parents are like, you guys broke something already. What the, like coming down to see what they broke. She's like, sorry. And then they're like, oh shit, we have a basement. And they start cracking down the whole wall to go down, which I would immediately be like, no. They walled that bitch up.
Yep.
You wall it back up. No,
Yep.
no.
You don't need that extra square footage.
Nope.
You don't need
it. I don't know who they killed, but they can stay down there. Like, yeah, no. Don't want to know. So he goes down with just a match too, which is like even worse. You didn't even try to give yourself light. And so then once again, loud music playing as he's lighting a match, and it keeps going out. So it goes like complete darkness, light the match, and you're kind of like, oh shit, we're gonna see something, and you end up not seeing anything. And he goes back upstairs. But you are tense in this moment. Then they were going to bed. The dog's still barking out. He still won't come inside. He just barks at the window. And they're like, what's wrong with the fucking dog? And I'm like, you need to go. That's what you need to do.
Jesus Christ.
So then, of course, they go to sleep. They wake up. So it's the morning now. It's freezing. They're like, oh, it's so cold. Like, and I'm like, cold spots. Mm-hmm. I said, get the fuck out, but I'm not sure why I said that. I don't remember what happened. Because I remember like she's walking around the house, and the one girl's asking for something, so she ends up going outside, and then I have, oh no, not the dog. But there's something in between there that I said, get the fuck out. And I don't know if it was the coldness or not.
I don't remember. No, the sister hadn't started sleepwalking yet.
No.
It wasn't anything like inconsequential really that happened at this point. I don't remember anything major happening at this point. It just seemed like they were like, I was confused as to
Oh,
how they
I
got.
remember. She's walking through the house and she's realizing her clocks have stopped. And
Oh
then
yeah.
the clock next to her bed had stopped at 3:07, I think. And you're kind of like, oh. And then she goes downstairs and the grandfather clock also stopped at 3:07. And that's when I was like, ooh, get the fuck out.
Yeah, no.
Stopping things at 3 a.m. Mm-mm. So then she goes to kid, and that's when the little girl comes running in and she's asking to play or something. And they're just like, just go outside, go outside. And she goes running out. And then she's screaming, and you're just like,
Yeah.
fuck,
Yeah.
dog dead. Bye bye,
Yeah.
doggy. Yep.
Just on the side of the house.
Just,
Jesus Christ.
yep. Uh, then it jumps over. So we pause on their story. Their dog's dead. I did also said, oh no, not the damn basement. But I don't remember what they did in the basement after this point.
It wasn't anything major.
No, I don't think so. But anyway, then dog dead. So then we jump over to the Warrens, and you're at their house, and you're in the great treasure museum that they have in their home.
So fucking stupid.
I love seeing the annoyance on your face. Just saying their parts.
Listen,
You're like immediately like, fuck these people. Okay,
yeah.
hold on. We'll get there.
I know.
Okay. So you're in he's it's like he's doing an interview and the guy's kind of like, oh, why do you, and he's pretty much saying stuff like, we don't destroy them because at least we know where they're at. We destroy the host, they'll just go floating somewhere else. He shows him the great Annabelle doll.
Zero protections on anything. There's no protections anywhere. There's not an ounce of salt. There's no fucking incense. There's no holy oil anointing anything. They're just fucking in shelves and glass cases behind one door that doesn't even have a proper lock on it. In your home, in your house, you're out of your fucking mind. You are out of your mind.
To be fair, and this is more a later thing, but it's not later thing because he kind of says it in the movie, just not as deep. I don't know about the regular shows. They probably are just willy-nilly. But Annabelle specifically, her case is said to be made with wood and anointed oils, waters. It has Bible verses. A priest comes once a week to put the sanctions back on it.
The priest thing, I believe. The priest thing, I believe. I believe they had priest friends. I believe that the priests probably come once a month, and I believe they probably podged a bunch of fucking random ass Bible verses on this shit. I don't believe anything else about the case. They got that at the Piggly Wiggly. Okay, it's just a glass fucking case with a lock on it. Shut up. Stop
they
it.
went to Israel for that sand and pounded
Get
into
the
glass
fuck out of here.
just for Isabel.
Just for the fucking Annabelle.
For the kid. Mm-hmm.
When you know more about who they actually were as people and their actual standing within the community, you'll like that is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever fucking heard. You did not. Nobody's doing that for you. Nobody's giving that to you. You built that shit out of 2x4s.
So then I want to say something happens, like a wind blows or something. I
think this is when isn't this when she starts acting a little weird? Lorraine starts acting a little, she's like not flighty, but she's like, I don't know, she's just acting a little weird.
Daughter, and he's like, "Oh, you shouldn't be in here."
Oh yeah,
runs out. But I feel like because I even said, "Ooh, something went down." What is wrong with me?
Your notes are exceptionally good this time.
I am the worst.
I'm not
note
gonna
taking.
remember.
Something went down, guys. And that's what I fucking wrote down. So he sees his daughter. He runs her out. I remember that part.
Mm-hmm.
He was mentioning something about Lorraine because the guy was like, he asks if they see something. He's like, oh, she sees shit that changes her. Then he saw his daughter, kicked the daughter out, and then you see Lorraine. She's kind of sitting there all dazed, and you're like, "Oh, something happened
Yeah,
here."
that's what I meant. Yeah, she's like
Yeah,
not really all there.
yeah. So, and I feel like he talks to her a little bit. I don't remember about what though. And then it jumps back over to, and I put, "Oop, it's 3:03, bitches. Time to get wrecked." Because it immediately shows the clock hitting and stopping. Yep. And this is where the little girl, no. I said, fuck, man. Oh, the music's getting tense. And there was banging happening in the house, like a knocking happening.
Yeah.
And the mom's getting up. Yeah, the mom's up. But as the knocking's happening, my kid knocked on the wall to get my attention. Scared
Fuck
the
off.
living. I jumped
Fuck
half out my
off.
bed, man. I was like, and it was nighttime too, guys. Look, I'm a scaredy cat. I
That
love
was
horror.
dumb.
I love horror, but it scares the shit out of me, especially ghost stuff. So when that happened, it was already nighttime, and I was like, you know what? We'll just finish this tomorrow. We're done. We're done for the night. I was so fucking scared. Okay. So then it's not the mom, it's the dad. He's following the knocking and banging happening around the house. And then he finds his daughter banging her head against her sister's dresser.
It's the wardrobe. Yeah, it's a wardrobe.
Yeah, and the sister's like, I don't know what to do. You said don't wake her. And he's like, yeah, I got it. And he like just leads her back to bed. And then a bird cracks against the window, and like it's a startle moment. And it was just such a moment where I was a little bit roll my eyes, because why in every demon movie is a bird hitting a building?
What's the deal with birds?
Every fucking time, dude. I swear, if it has demons in it, there's gonna be a bird hitting a window. Like
not even demons, any witches, any kind of ghosts, birds. And like, yeah, animals do act weird when shit's going down.
But why is it always the bird?
Constantly and consistently, just birds. Just
yeah. You can't throw
dive bombing.
Cat. We can't have a herd of dogs run by or something. Like
birds. Nope. I don't.
Always a bird hitting a window. Like always. Zombies are eating brains. Birds are chasing demons. That's what's happening in every fucking movie.
They're just evil. I don't like birds. They're just evil. That's what it is. But my question is, okay, if you want to do birds, fine, do birds. Why is it always got to be a raven or a blackbird? Those are the best kind of birds.
Well, wait a minute. This was a pigeon that hit their house.
It is, yeah. It was in this one case, but 9 times out of 10, it's a fucking raven or a blackbird or a crow.
What? Well, because it has to be black, because black's evil.
Yikes.
Just a lot of things starting to connect there, huh?
Well, no, I already knew they were connected, but the fact that you said it out loud, I was... Oh, Jesus, no. All right.
And canceled at 19 followers.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Well, man, anyway, I didn't build this country. I can't help what it was built off of.
Okay, so the bird hits.
Yeah.
And then don't they cut to the morning or something? I'm not gonna lie, I only half pay attention when it's like bright outside, because I'm like, y'all just living life. I don't give a shit.
And then it jumps to the bird hits, and then it kind of jumps to like dad's leaving for work, kids are running off to school, and it's like mom's on her own. Well, at first I was like mom's on her own, then I was like, oh no, she still has the youngest.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like looks like she's 5, but and would probably be in school.
Maybe, I don't know. My kid she was a big kid, so yeah, she looked like that to you when she was like 4. So like I get it. Yeah, I could see that kid being not going to school yet. But yeah, so this is when they start to play again.
Yeah, because the kid's like, hey, well, she's talking to somebody, and the mom's like, who are you talking to? And
Yeah.
she's like, my friend Rory. And she's like, oh, you're so cute. And then she's like, can I talk to Rory? And she's like, yeah, here. And she gives her the music box with a mirror, and she's like, just play the music and look in the glass, and you'll see them. So of course, here comes your tense music. The glass is spinning, and I do like this because this is the mirror I was talking about. It has like a shadow tinting in it of a spiral. So when it spins, it's a like it's trying to hypnotize you, but it causes the camera to shake a little. Um, and so you're kind of like looking at the mom's half of her face and then behind her head, and you're sitting there going, "What's gonna pop out? What's gonna pop out?" Like, and then nothing. The kid jumps up behind her. It's like, I got you, mommy, and you're like, oh shit, got me.
Fucking kids.
Right?
Fucking children.
So then the kid wants to play the clap game, and the mom's like, oh, maybe later. And the kid's like, but the big kids never let me play. And she's like, okay. So the mom's blindfolded, and the girl
Upstairs. They're upstairs again.
upstairs, and the girl runs off, and she's like, okay, clap one. And she starts hearing claps. And you're immediately like, it's not the kid. I know it's not the fucking kid. And then the claps lead her to the creepy fucking wardrobe, and um, she's in the room, but because she's blindfolded, she's like turning around, and you see the wardrobe open, and then she's like, these hands clap, and they clap, and you're like, oh, that's such a
Yeah,
kid.
that's not
Yeah.
kids'
So then
hands.
she goes to the wardrobe, and she's touching around, calling for it, but she's not feeling anything. You're like, oh my god, she's gonna feel the ghost. And then she had taken off her blindfold for something, like she's kind of like, where are you? And then the little girl pops behind her, and she's like, you took your blindfold off, I win. And the mom's like, who the fuck was clapping? And but it's just kind of like, okay, fucking weird, and leaves. And then so now it's bedtime, and this was is weird to me. None of them slept with like blankets on. It was all they have blankets under them and like blankets kind of on them, but their whole ass legs are out, and it weirds me out because I don't know how anybody sleeps like that and feels safe in any way.
Didn't they have quilts? Didn't they have quilts on the
No,
bed? Typically,
no, they had quilts. Like she was laying on top of her quilt. I will say it's the one sister. She's a middle sister. Because the older sister in the wardrobe room always covered, and the sister next to her was always covered, but this girl was always on top of the fucking covers. And it was
weirdo.
weirding me out.
Weirdo.
Um, and this is where she something touches her, and she's smelling something terrible, and she's telling her sister to stop touching her, and like that she farted pretty much, and the sister was like, just shut the fuck up. And something grabs her leg really hard, and you're like, oh shit. And so then she starts checking around the bed, and she's like really scared. And then she's like, this is where they play with shadows a lot, because there's nothing in this scene, but she's freaking out, and like she sees something, and you're like, what is she saying? And you're just
It was
staring
behind the
instead.
door, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
behind
And
the door in the
it's just
shadow.
a dark void. You can't see anything. So it really is like your mind's gonna put shit there, like. And then the other sister is like, what is happening? And then she stands up, and she goes over by the door, and she's like, there's nothing here. And then all of a sudden the door just slams, and then they just start screaming, and then the
Yeah.
parents are running, and they start trying to get in, and they get in, and the one sister's still just standing there like nothing happened, while the other one's freaking out over what she just saw, and they're like, it's okay, and she's just completely spazzing. And then oh yeah, she's spazzing, saying it wants the family dead, it wants the family dead. And I was like, time to leave.
Hello.
It was time to leave when the dog wouldn't come in, but now it's super duper time to leave. And the mom is also waking up with like insane bruising, like not little, like
No, it's
huge,
hands.
deep
Yeah.
purple,
Yeah.
like on her chest. It's fucking everywhere. And I was like, one, I'm gonna need you to be like way more concerned about your health. Like, even if you don't believe in the supernatural, I would be for sure like, I have
Right.
fucking cancer. I have fucking cancer. It's stage 4. I'm clearly dying because my God, those bruises are so dramatic. Like, um, so yeah, the mom wakes up, she's looking at the bruises, but she just kind of like, oh well. And then she hears like this giggle and she comes like around the corner, like, what in the fuck? And then the pictures, like you hear the shine crash in the hallway and she runs over and all of the family photos over the stairs have just fucking crashed down. And you're like, super fuck no. Like super duper nope.
Yeah.
Um and then she starts to hear clapping again. Like the ghosts really love clapping at this woman.
And
And
it leads her downstairs.
yeah,
At first I thought she didn't have no shoes on. And I was like, bitch, like what the fuck are you walking on stairs with Dusty? But she had slippers on.
yeah.
Then she walks downstairs and she starts following the clapping in the middle of the night like a fucking dum dum and follows it to the fucking basement doorway. And it's like, let's just go check it out. Like the epitome of
I
stupid
know.
white woman.
And the basement door opens by itself while she's standing
Yes.
there and she still walks towards it.
Yeah.
No, never. And then so she ends up going down and you're like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And the ball gets thrown at her. And then you're just like, oh fuck, run. And she runs, but then the door gets slammed in her fucking face so hard it like slams her back.
Yep.
And then the lights burn out. So then she has like the match and she's like, oh, oh, she
Where the
can't get
fuck does
out
she
the
get the
door
match?
stuff.
Where the fuck does she get the matches?
Well, remember when the husband came back upstairs, he put them on the top step,
Oh, you're
kept
right. I
walking.
was gonna say, do you just have them in like your fucking dressing gown,
Just in her jammies.
carrying fucking matches everywhere? But you're
So
right. Yeah, she likes the
so then
match.
you see the white hands come next to her face. It's a very Blair Witch moment of like the fire and the and then the clap and then lights out. She's screaming and banging, but no one can hear her. So then it goes to I think it cuts back to the Warrens. Dun, dun, dun. Oh
Does
no,
it cut to the Warrens? No, it goes
it does
upstairs
not.
to the
It goes,
girls.
yeah, it's the girls upstairs. Okay, this was where I was like, wait a damn minute. Because I thought, are they just cut this real weird? The mom's incident was happening daylight hours. Like when she was following down the hall, it was
No, it
daytime.
wasn't.
It was. I'm gonna rewatch it. And then it cuts to the girls and it's nighttime, but it makes it seem like these two things are happening at the exact same time. And I don't think that was meant. I think it was meant to be like the mom situation happened and then the girl situation happened.
No, that doesn't make sense because the dad.
Oh yeah,
Keep
that's true. He
going.
does come home.
That
Okay.
doesn't make any sense.
That's what I think they edited
I
it
think it was
wrong.
just bad editing. Yeah.
Yeah. So mom is currently being tortured in the basement. Jump up to daughter, the older one sleeping, and the younger one's ramming her head against the wardrobe again. So the daughter's like, okay, and I know what to do now. I saw daddy do it. And she's like, just lay in bed with me. And she brings her over to the bed. And as she's tucking her in, the wardrobe opens. And you're
Yeah.
like, not the babies. And then the sleeping girl sits up and is just staring like, and so the big sister's like, and she turns around and she looked up and then it had, and this is where the movie starts getting dumb for me because I'm just like, this is not a good ghost demon witch thing. Like
Ah.
Yeah, I did.
Ah.
So she's on top of the wardrobe and she jumps down and she's attacking the girl. And this is now she's screaming, mom's screaming, dad's outside. He just got home. He's running inside.
Yeah, he's like, what the fuck is going on in this
Yeah. And
house?
so he's pulling mom out, and then girls are screaming. So upstairs to the girls.
And she's
Just,
rolling on the floor.
yeah, she's just all like, and then the dad's like, "What is happening?" Like, he's so mad, and which was I was like, "That's very dad. That's a very dad moment." He felt that. He felt he was playing that character because no dad would come home with empathetic concern. Like he'd be concerned and want to save his family, but every dad I know would be like, "What?" Like just angry that it's also happening. Like,
Yeah, because it's like he just walked into chaos. He was
oh
like,
yeah,
I've been at work. He's like a trucker or something, I think.
yeah,
He's like, I've been on the road. I just got home. I walk into the house and it's a fucking disaster. Like, what
yeah.
the fuck?
Everyone's
Honestly, I would be
dying. What
like
the
that
fuck?
too. Honestly, I would have a dad reaction too. Everybody stop.
Yeah.
Like, I'm too autistic for this. Everybody stop. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? What is happening?
So then it cuts to the Warrens, and they're teaching another class. And we're getting a little more demon information. I don't remember what the demon information was. Oh, they're talking about Frenchie, who you will later see in The Nun, and his exorcism.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, they're just so you're getting more demon information from them, and then at the you see they're like showing the students, and you see the mom is in the audience, so she's come to find the Warrens and get their help. And she runs out to the parking lot. And at first, the dad is like, "Nope, we're not doing it." But she's like, "Please, God, help me." And Lorraine's like, "Of course, we'll help you." And he doesn't want to because I think he thinks Lorraine's going to die or something. So then they come and investigate the house. And I said all little Judy, but I'm not sure why.
Because Judy, so this is when Judy's grandma, who's been the one that's staying with her while they're fucking gallivanting all over the place, gave her matching lockets for her and her mom. So hers has pictures of her mom and dad in it, and then Lorraine's has a picture of her. So Lorraine puts her to bed and she gives her this locket. Lorraine puts it on, and you can tell she like feels bad about leaving all the time.
Yeah.
Hello. Uh, and then they head to the what's their name? The Perones, I think their name is. Yeah, the Perone family. They head out to go check on this in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
And as
So,
soon as they get there, as soon as they're pulling up into the fucking driveway, Lorraine has this look on her face like, oh, like, hello again, I guess. Like something is not right.
so Lorraine's walking through the house, and you see where they walk in, and the whole family's there because they're sleeping in the living room now, all together. And she's looking at everything kind of like, hmm. And she goes
Hmm.
out in the backyard and she sees the woman hanging from the tree. And you're like, And then she goes in, she does something where she sees something bigger and longer. And then she goes and tells them, "You're infested." Oh, because they're like, "We gotta get the fuck out of here if it's haunted." And she's like, "Won't matter." Ghosts are like gum on a shoe, apparently. They're sticking to you. And she tells them, like, "I've seen it since I walked in." And they show the shadow behind the family, the shadow in the picture. Um, and her and the mom have this moment of like looking at the picture, and she's like, "That was a great day." That might be a little bit funny.
Yeah, because
Uh,
Lorraine's whole thing is that she can feel like and see different things and pick up on energies or whatever. So she picks up this picture and it's just like them and a blue sky, and she says like, "Oh, that was a great day at the beach, wasn't it?" And the mom's like,
How'd you know I
The
went to the
fuck?
beach?
Yeah, how do
Yeah,
you know that? Yeah, so that's where they're explaining like what exactly Lorraine's powers
a
are.
little bit, but that's actually a little bit further because now I remember when she's standing outside, she's looking at the out to the water, and he comes up behind her, the husband Ed, and he's like, "What's happening?" And you can hear the rope squeaking, and she's turning around like, "Shit!" And then she starts hearing all these,
Mhm. Yeah.
getting louder in her ears, and she's seeing the feet hanging by Ed's head, and then she's like, "Oh, Ed, we have to do something." So dramatic. And then as she's telling them you have a darkness, she's also telling them a woman named Bathsheba lived on this land and was a witch and sacrificed her baby and then hung herself off a tree in honor of Satan.
I don't think they find that out yet.
Oh no, that
No,
was
they
during
don't
the
find that
haunting
out
movie.
yet. No, she just says there's something fucking here and it's bad and it's attached to you and it's going to follow
Yeah,
you. So we have to deal with it. And then they're explaining to them how it works and that they need to get actual evidence to be able to prove that it's an actual like something happening, and then they'll take it higher up and they can like do more stuff. So then I think it's like the montage of them
setting up,
pulling up. They pull up with their car and then like this VW bug, and then
which I
there's like a
want.
yeah, I
I
do
want to
too.
be
And
Debbie
then
Bus.
there's this like guy that they got with them that's like the technical guy, and then a cop pulls up too. Which I don't know what purpose like a cop would have
Me
in these
neither.
situations.
Other than to play skeptic at the
I,
scene, I don't know
that's
why you would have an
literally
officer with you.
literally his only job in the whole fucking movie is just to be the skeptic character.
Yeah,
And like and even the guy, the technical guy is like kind of questioning why there's a cop there, and he's like, "Oh, what are you going to do? You going to shoot the ghost with your gun?" And the cop
right.
was like, "Well, I'd rather have a gun than not have a gun," or some bullshit like that. So yeah, this is where they start going through the house and they're setting up cameras along with a temperature gauge attached to like a light that's going to flash. So anytime if something goes through and it's a certain temperature, it's going to trigger it and it's going to take a picture. And they set it up like in the hallway near where the basement door is. They set up all of the bedrooms upstairs, and I think that's did they set up one in the basement? I don't remember if they set up one in the basement, but they set up one by the tree
Mhm.
outside. But I don't think they put one in the basement, which seems like a gigantic oversight. Like that would be my first
Right.
move.
They just put the camera
Hello.
looking at the basement door.
Yeah, in the hallway
Mm-hmm.
downstairs. Yeah, but they don't actually put one in the basement. So they get all the shit set up and then hang out and wait until nighttime.
Yeah, I did. So as they're setting up, they do shoehorn in this little tiny romance of the tech guy flirting with
Oh
the
yeah.
oldest daughter, teaching her about blacklight. And then all of a sudden, a bell, because they were setting up little bells too. A
Hmm.
bell kind of dinged, and the door
On the
cracks open.
door
I'm like,
handle.
oh shit! It's not even like the nighttime yet, and it's already
Yeah.
starting. And then it's just the cop. He comes backing out, and he's like, "What? I had to pee."
Yeah. And then they set up crucifix like all over the house just randomly, and they told them, "Oh,
Oh yeah.
this will
Wait.
make
So
them
he pops down
irritated."
this sack like he's preparing, kind of like a women's makeup kit, like 3 bind open, and it's just shit ton of crosses. And I was like, damn, he came prepared. And then they do put it in of the movie of being like he brings them too pissed off the spirit. So he's just putting
So you can
crosses
get
everywhere just
evidence.
to fucking irritate her. And I was like, cool, cool. um a door slams. I did put down so on this night, um, the clocks didn't stop, so the Warrens were kind of like, I don't know. We got a little bit of action, but I don't know if it's gonna be enough. But then the next day, the parents are kind of like, Dad's like, I'm gonna take them out for ice cream since last night was like a lighter success. Because I guess they were like, hey, nothing happened while we were here, really. So whatever. So Dad's like, I'm gonna
Yeah, they
take the
like
girls for
make
ice cream.
breakfast. They
Yeah,
make
and
breakfast
they're
for
making
everyone.
breakfast and stuff. And the mom's like, I'm so tired, um,
I'm gonna take a
and
nap.
yeah, Lorraine's like, we'll go to sleep. We can take care of things. And she's like, oh, thank you so much. She goes upstairs, and then Ed and Lorraine are out in the garden doing laundry, which is so fucking weird. Like,
When you say I'm gonna take care of things, I expect you to like clean up breakfast,
yeah, I
not
would, yeah,
put
do
my
maybe do the
laundry out.
dishes, maybe vacuum. I would not expect you to do my laundry. Please don't touch my underwear. Like, so weird.
No.
So they're outside and they're just talking to each other, having a very, they make all of their scenes very lovey-dovey. Like, they have the greatest love story in the world. They really Jack and Rose the fuck out of these characters. Like, so she's left outside and it's starting to get windy, like a storm's coming in. And I was like, oh, foreshadowing, a storm's fucking brewing. And the Lorraine starts looking around like something's not right, and the sheet blows off. So she starts trying to pull the sheets down before they can blow away, and one blows off and like gets stuck on a person figure. So you're kind of like, ooh, ooh. And then it hits the window like a fucking magic trick, blows off, and there's a woman. The ghost is upstairs now, like
In the bedroom, I assume
in
that
the
the mama
bedroom
did.
window, which I was like, cool effect, but it was very like, look at me now. You see me? Now you don't. Now I'm upstairs. How'd that happen? Like, so then Lorraine's like, oh fuck, she's in there, and she goes running upstairs, and the mom is sleeping, and then all of a sudden, like, the ghost is on top of her, like bleeding in her mouth, and I'm like, why do these seasons have to exist? Like, can we stop throwing up in people's mouths for the whole possession thing? Like, it makes me very uncomfortable. So then, like, Lorraine's banging and she goes around, and the mom just kind of opens the door and she's like, oh, I was just feeling a little silly being a goose. Anyways, I think I hear my kids downstairs, and like pushes past, and Lorraine's like, all right. And I'm just like, didn't you guys just spend like the first hour of this movie being like, you know, here's all the signs of a demonic possession and stuff, and then like you see it happening in front of you and you just go, I don't know
Yeah.
what's happening. Who knows? Like, I found that to be a little bit irritating. So then something happens, storms are brewing, mama's infested, cop becomes a believer.
Oh, this is the that night. They're all staying there again, trying to get evidence. And this will irritate me every time I fucking see it. They are out in the country. This is a country town. The cop is like in the kitchen, and I don't know what everybody else is doing because the continuality in these movies is non-existent. Don't know where anybody else is. He's in the kitchen, like getting a glass of water or some shit, and then he looks out the window into the dark, which is not a thing that real country people do. We don't look out of windows into the darkness at night. Looks out the window and like the wind is blowing, and like the rocking chair on the front porch was isn't even in the right spot for there to be a rocking chair. It's like the porch is like this, and the rocking chair is like here, pointed to the corner of the. No, why is it anyway? It starts moving. He starts doing the cop thing, and he goes the way that the house is set up is it has like one of those mud rooms where they would have like a kitchen sink and shit. So he goes through there, and for some reason there's like all of their sheets are now hung up in there. I don't know why, but they are. He goes through there, that's where the back door is. He makes a second mistake of opening the fucking back door in the middle of the night. There's no proper window coverings on anything, which again would not happen. Close the shit so you can't
Yeah.
see through it. He opens the door, which is the worst thing that you can do unless you are like for real farmer and you have livestock and you think that a coyote or a fox or something is attacking your livestock, whatever you hear outside at night in the middle of the night, it's none of your business. It is none of your business. But he does the dumb thing and opens up the door and he looks outside and he's like, huh, don't see anything. Closes the door and he turns around and I think he starts trying to walk back to the kitchen and there's like this lady standing there in like she's like in a, like a maid's uniform and she like calls out and she's like, look what she made me do or something
Yeah,
like
she has
that. And
slit
he's
on her
like,
wrist.
yeah, he turns around and he's like, "What the fuck?" And then she turns her wrists over and she's got where she had committed suicide and she starts like yelling at him like, "Look what she made me do." And she like attacks him or something and he like falls through all the fucking sheets hanging off of the thing and starts screaming and here everybody comes and they're like, "Oh, what happened?" And he's like, "Oh, there's some bitch in here." He doesn't say bitch. There's a lady. Where's a lady in here? And that's when the guy is like, the tech guy, I think, is like, yeah, you see, you see, but he still
How'd
doesn't
that gun
really,
work for you, bud?
yeah, he still doesn't really believe it. And then now I think is when it really starts picking up and they start actually catching shit.
I did. So I put creepy maid. Cindy gets locked in somewhere. Oh, okay. So this dream walking girl again starts walking, and
Mm.
the dad's about to go get her or like move her, and Ed's like, no, 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 just let her
Because
go.
it's flashing off. It's tripping
Yeah,
the sensors,
pictures are being
and it
taken.
wouldn't. And a human being is not able to trip those sensors off because of the type of sensors that they had. So Ed is like, no, there's something is like something is there, and we need to see where she's going. Like
Yeah.
we need to see like
So
what
this
is
is where I
happening.
was like, okay, even if you are gonna tell me don't wake up my child, or because we want to see where she's going, why'd they all stay downstairs though?
Yeah, they
Like I
just
would still be
watched
on
her go
her
up the landing.
ass. Like nobody. So they let her go upstairs pretty much by herself, and she goes in the room, and the door slams behind her, and then they
And
all
then
run
they're
up, and
like,
I'm like, why wouldn't you have been by her side anyways? You dummies. So then,
they're trying to get in. They
yeah,
can't get into the fucking
they do
door.
finally get in, and they
Yeah.
get, and she's not in there. So then they're like, where is she? Where is she? They're looking around. They're like, bring up the black light. They go get it. They find little feet prints and they go over. And then it turns out that those creepy ass wardrobes had a false wall. And they move that
There's
over. And they,
literally a hole cut in the wall, like chiseled into the
yeah.
drywall
So
behind
they
it.
find this hole, and tiniest daughter is like, that's where Rory hangs out. And I'm like,
That's where he hides, is what she
yeah,
says. That's
when
where he
he's scared.
hides when he's scared. Yeah.
And you gotta remember when they were going over the history of the house, a little boy went missing and his
We
mom
skipped that
killed
part.
herself in the basement. And then they go into like a bunch of other people committed suicide, and that's first. So you have the maid who committed suicide, Bathsheba who hung herself from a tree, who's the main demon, and then the mom and the son. And so then I was like,
Right.
oh my god, they're gonna find a skeleton in the wall because he disappeared, right? But they
Yeah.
don't. So Lorraine goes in there and she finds a bunch of toys, and she finds where the creepy music box was supposed to be. Like it was, no dust was in that spot. Like he had just taken it and given it to her. And then she falls to the floor, and I'm like, your legs would be fucking broken. She went
Falls
down
all the way down
floors,
to the basement.
hitting. There's no way you're standing up after that. I don't believe it. But she falls through, and she falls under a table. And then she's hears the crying and stuff, and the mom's holding the son, and she's
Well,
like,
she
she
uses
made me do it.
well, she uses the mirror in the music
Oh
box
yeah,
and
to
like is
see it.
looking behind her and sees like the mom and then she turns around and the mom's really there and
Yeah,
the mom is like, she made me do it." And then the creepy ghost mom looks at her and she's like terrified for a second. And Lorraine's
yeah.
like, oh shit. Now I'm actually scared. What are you seeing? What is happening? And that's when all this like creaking and stuff starts happening. And then
You just see
feet,
Bathsheba's, yeah, the
their
tootsies,
feet
and they come swinging in.
like hanging. She's like
Yeah,
swinging, hanging.
and
Yeah.
then they start kind of moving towards her, and then that's when she's like, "Oh shit!" And she's like, "Get the fuck out of here!" And she starts screaming and trying to get up the steps and stuff. And
Banging
then
on the door because the door's not open, yelling for Ed, and then Ed's freaking out, and he's like, "Hey, you gotta go home." Like, we're
as she's running, she loses her necklace
yeah,
that
it,
her
like
daughter
she
gave
tries to
her.
like strangle her.
And
Yeah,
this is where I feel like we're really adding some unnecessary underlined shit here. So it shows the
well, they were
hanging
building a
necklace.
franchise.
I know, but it's still unnecessary to the whole franchise. This whole little section of like, so it jumps over, not yet. And said, why did they take the mom? Oh, they leave the house. So because shit's really went down, she's really scared. They're all leaving the house. And in this, I was like, she knows that mom's fucking possessed. She knows it, and she let her leave anyways with the fucking family. After you just sat in a basement and connected all the dots that Bathsheba is making people kill themselves and their children. You just said those words out of your fucking mouth. They still said, but you guys enjoy your kids. We'll catch you later. We're going to go talk to the priests and get them to exorcise this house.
Yeah,
You,
I don't think they fully connected like what was like they understood that something was happening between mothers and kids, and then like the maid lady wasn't really associated with the kids, so they didn't get it. And then the other story was that there was a little boy who drowned in the lake, and so like I think that they didn't really connect like the kid versus mother thing, and she just kind of assumed that everything that was going on was just kind of outside of that. So then they tell them to get out so that they can go and talk to the priest because they feel like they have enough evidence that there is something
yeah.
actually happening. But I don't think that at this point, because later on she makes the realization and she connects the dots. I don't think at this point she's fully connected the dots yet.
I guess this is just where I'm just like, usually by this point in the movies, I've gotten so far ahead that I'm like, how do you not see what's happening? And it's just kind of
That's
like
what it is.
the
Yeah.
characters haven't seen yet, Belinda. We haven't gotten that far. Like,
Yeah, we can connect the dots because of the
yeah.
storytelling, but I don't think they had connected the dots because
No,
yeah, this is when um, they go and talk to the priest and they're telling the priest everything, but and this is true, exorcisms within the Catholic Church are extremely like by the book. Like it has to be only in certain situations, only certain people are allowed to do them. You have to plead your case, you do have to show enough evidence, and then they have to take it from there. And it can take a very long time if you're trying to get this. But those things are put in place because people have fucking died and they've had lawsuits against them because of people dying. And you can't prove the existence of anything like that, anything supernatural in court. So when they're talking to the priest, they're like, "Hey, we know that something's happening." And the priest is like, "Yeah, I can tell that something's happening, but fuck you want me to do about it? Like I can't you want me to just drive over my little priest car and put on my little priest
so
tie and I'll go take care of it? Like I can't do that shit." And so they end up coming to the conclusion of like, all right, well, I'll push it through personally. I'll try to do what I can do to get this done. And they're like, oh my god, thank you. And all I can think of is like, bro, this is the 70s. What does that mean? A couple phone calls? Like that's the most you
right,
can't send an email urgent. Like
yeah.
what are you gonna how they got
There's
to
no
review all
urgency
the
in the '70s.
evidence.
Yeah,
They got to review the evidence. How are you going to send the evidence from fucking nowhere, USA, all the way to the fucking Vatican? Like, I know you can take it to like the sectors in the United States, but they have to get approval from the Vatican. The Vatican's not just going to be like, I trust you, bro.
yeah.
Sure, go. Like, what does that mean? What do you mean you're going to push it through? To who?
Well, if I was a priest, I this is all I could think about while you were talking. You were talking about very important things, but if I was a priest, I'd be like showing up like Salt Bay, but with holy water. Like, you're cleansed. Have a great day. Little, you're welcome.
It's fucking stupid.
Okay. So yeah, the priest, then it jumps to the daughter sleeping and her necklace is shaking. And this is where I'm just like, okay, this is dumb. I don't like it. So of course something's going down. The daughter comes in. Your camera's really blurry. The daughter comes in and she's hearing things and knocking. She ends up going into a haunted area. And of course, Annabelle's not in the case. And then she runs out of there, like screaming for her parents, and she ends up in their office. And fucking Bathsheba is brushing Annabelle's hair, which one.
She's got braids. Literally.
Thank you.
I braided my hair
like, why would
while I
you
was
brush
watching this
someone's
movie.
hair who has their hair in braids? One, two, why would Bathsheba, who's haunting this other location, be all the way over here partying with Annabelle? What? You haven't even gone home yet. Why would she be in your house? And I don't know, power of love through objects. Maybe that's what they're trying to get
Well,
at.
it had the picture. It had the picture of the kid, so she knew she
That's
had a
not.
daughter. But like,
Ghosts are dumb, not fucking carrier pigeons. Okay, they stick to things. They don't just flutter through space to different locations. Like,
she is like
not
a portal.
How it works.
She could teleport.
And just to be like, well, I got a night off since the family went to the hotel. Guess I'm heading on over to fucking, I don't even know where they live. They're in Rhode Island, but I know they don't fucking live in Rhode Island. Like,
no, hold on. Where did they live? Did I write that down?
Where's that museum? That museum's still open, so that was where they lived.
It got reopened. It was closed for a while.
Yeah, but I think it's still at their house though.
Yeah, it was zoning regulations that closed it down.
Yeah.
I can't remember where it is though, and of course I didn't
I don't
write
remember
that
what
down.
it's called.
Connecticut? I feel like I want to say
It is.
Connecticut.
Probably was Connecticut. So yeah, Bathsheba went cross state lines to go hunt a bitch. And she's throwing a chair and
Ed and Lorraine miraculously
yeah,
come
they pop
time.
in like just in time because she felt something was off. I was just very like, I hate everything about this. I don't know why this needed to be a tie-in in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't even make sense. So then
I think
this,
that's
you can tell this is where my
she's
notes get real shady because this part made me so mad. I was like, I'm just done with you now. I'm done with this movie. But they end up back at her house because somewhere in here it hits her that shit, the mom is the issue. Or they get a call from the dad and he's like, the mom took the children, and they're like, fuck, we gotta go find them. And she's like, she's at the house. And so they end up at the house and the mom's in the basement.
With a pair of scissors.
Yeah.
And so she took the youngest two. She took the youngest two with her. Yeah. She left the other two. I don't know where dad was. Stabbed
the older of the youngest, and the other youngest is pulling on her, and they all like tackle her to like get the scissors out of her hands, and the kids kind of scatter, and the youngest runs and hides. The tech guy grabs the one kid, gets her out to the car, and then
they're trying to get her out. Yeah.
Yeah. Cop, Ed, and Lorraine are with the mom, and now she's just slinging around the room.
Well, no, they try to get her out of the house first. They get her upstairs.
Oh yeah, that's right. They
try to get her out of the house,
and then starts burning.
Yeah.
And Lorraine's like, she's gonna die if she leaves, so we just push her back in. And she gets dragged back in. Like they let her go, and she gets dragged down to the basement. She's like, help me! And then they run down to the basement. And they see her getting slinged around, like she just hitting walls. And then they grab her and they get a sheet over her and they tie her and they handcuff her. And
she bites the cop while they're struggling in the basement.
Face,
she like bites his cheek off.
Yeah. And then they get her down and he's like, get the priest. She's like, there's no fucking time. And he's like, well, then you get out. She's like, I won't leave you. Our love will conquer all. We came together for a reason. And he's like, fucking fine. She's like, you got this, babe. you got this. And so he pulls out his holy water and
And
hits
this
her
little
one
book.
time. She starts screaming and he drops it. And I was already like, fail. Fucking, I thought you were the demonologist and you just dropped your holy water. What are you doing? And
And
why
the
would you
vial,
come
the
in a glass
vial he had,
bottle? They had plastic in the 70s.
the vial was
Like,
like this big too.
yeah,
Like you
it was
can't
super
even.
tiny too. So then
There's just a lot
yep,
of
Ed's
screaming.
freezing.
She's
He dropped.
screaming.
Oh, the little girl pushed in a car, and she's like, "Don't leave me." He's like, "I gotta go find your little sister. You just stay here." And then birds start coming, and this is another editing fail. Okay, so if you notice when they're showing the skyline of all the birds flying around the house, you have your crows and ravens and shit. But when they show the bird fly through the window, it's another fucking pigeon.
Yeah, where are all these pigeons? Pigeons don't.
Right? I was like, you're in the middle of nowhere country. Why do you have pigeons? There was just a herd of crows outside, but Henry the pigeon, what, lost his way? He couldn't keep with the pack flying outside. So
Yeah,
then,
the tech guy is trying to find the little girl. He's just
yeah,
like
he's
yell.
trying to
He's just
find the little girl.
running around.
She's puking blood. She's cussing and shit. Her face is changing. Getting real haggy and stuff. And then the dude's like, oh, she ends
No,
up like lifting. The chair lifts and then turns upside down and sits on the roof. And
yeah,
they're just sitting there like, oh
and
shit.
Ed is yelling, "Put her down" or something, which
Oh
is a
yeah,
very
they're
poor
just
choice of
yelling.
words. It's a very poor choice of words when she's upside down on the ceiling. You say,
I was
"Just put her
thinking that. I
down."
was like, so she could
Like,
break her neck? What the fuck?
yeah, like, what's she gonna
So
do? Set her down gently? She's gonna turn her
right.
right back around and
I'm
just.
sorry.
I'm so
You
sorry.
didn't want me to do this? My bad. I got it. My bad. I thought
Gently.
we were playing a game.
No, but
So
then she
then,
like crashes and breaks the
yeah,
chair, so she's
breaks
free.
the
She's
chair
free.
and she just laying there and they're like, everyone's trying to say, at that moment, he's cracking through the floor and he's like, I found the girl. To which she's like,
She's under
gotcha,
the
bitch.
house.
And she like scurries down the hole and they're like, shit, catch her. And
Yeah,
then,
the hole that Lorraine made in the floor where she fell.
yeah,
She like
yeah, she
scurry
goes
and she grabs
scurrying
the
through there.
scissors to.
And so then she gets to a spot where she gets the little girl and everyone else is to where like Lorraine's above her where she could touch her head. Ed is on the right of her, like can barely reach her, and the husband's on the other side and can barely reach her. And they're having to just depend on her to just let go of the kid because they can't barely touch her. But because Ed, and what I love about it, he's been saying Latin this whole time. And at this point, Lorraine's above her, like touching her head, and Ed just goes, like he could have said this the whole time. Hey, Bathsheba,
Yeah.
I send you to hell. Like, and then she's like, and Lorraine's touching her, and the lights coming down, and all the fucking metal. And she lets the little girl go, and the husband, and Lorraine's like, talk to your wife. The husband's like, come back to me, stay with me. And Lorraine's like, remember the beach day, remember the beach day. And the wife's slowly coming back, and then Bathsheba's out of her. Uh, and then
And then it's all hunky dory. They have tore this house to fucking pieces. It's daylight. The other girls drive up with with a bunch of other cops. Who are these cops?
right,
I don't know. Two more cars with the girls in it drives up with the cops, and it's all big family reunion. Her skin heals itself. They're all hugging, and then Lorraine is hugging Ed, and like
yeah, I
this
think
is
it
when the
says some
tech
words
guy.
about how they
Yeah,
moved out later. But then it
yeah,
goes
but
to their house, Ed and Lorraine's, and I was like, oh, another item for the shelf, and they put up the music
the little
box onto
music
the
box.
shelf,
Yeah.
and then it like starts playing, and the window's spinning, and you're like, oh, but we're gonna see something, and the screen just goes black, and then it shows the real pictures of the Perrin family and the Warrens, and then that's it. That was the movie, and I give it a solid 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10.
8.
It still gives me the creeps. It gives me the creeps. I really love the first act. The ending does kind of suck, but it's a great movie. Like, it's really well done. I like it a lot.
Our movie rating systems are totally different. I give
Where
it
are
like a
you at? Are
5
you
out of
below
5.
a 5?
5.5. I give it a 5.5. It's watchable. I like the actors, the people who portray Ed and Lorraine. I like them a lot. I think what part of it that's ruining it for me is I am not a fan of your typical scary ghost story with all the camera tricks and like all the music and like I don't I I don't like them as much. They don't scare me at all. And part of that is because I do have hallucinations that are scarier than whatever stupid shit they can build up. They don't scare me. It's mid writing at best. It's like the only redeeming quality is that the actors are really good and they do a good job playing it. Like the story is stupid, the story is bullshit, and it doesn't help that I know a lot about Ed and Lorraine. So anytime I watch any of the Conjuring universe movies, I'm just like, nah, bro. Not like
Oh, well,
absolutely not. I just don't. It's just not for me.
I'm
It's
sorry. I
not
was
for
just trying to get
me.
my notes up for the true story.
No, you're fine. It's just not for me, and that's okay. I still watch them. I
Oh no,
watch
I
as many horror movies as I can fit into my day. I love watching horror movies, but it's
like I
just
said, man,
dribble.
I'm a simple girl. I like a good
I am not.
ghosty, and I just like some intense music. Sometimes I like my deep thinkers, but other times not so much. So I broke this up into a couple different pieces, and I did want to add because they did start this movie out. I was torn on if I was going to add this. They start the movie out with like the mini Annabelle story. Now we do get an Annabelle movie later, so I don't know if I'll ever. I didn't like the Annabelle series. I'll be real honest. Like those three could really go for me. Out of all the Conjuring
Mm-mm-mm.
universe movies, so I don't know if I'll ever put Annabelle on those lists, anyways. So I was like, since they kind of showed you their story, I might as well go ahead and tell you the true story about it because it was
Mm-hmm.
there. Um, so first of all, Annabelle was not a porcelain doll, and definitely didn't
Mm-mm.
fucking look like that monstrosity.
Mm-mm.
She was just a Raggedy Ann doll, and if you don't know what
Mm-hmm.
a Raggedy Ann doll is, it was like a doll from the 70s. It was cloth and had like button eyes and red hair and like a little blue dress on, and they were kind of everywhere. So the
Mm-hmm.
story goes that a mother was in like a thrift shop and saw the doll and was immediately drawn to it and wanted to give it to her daughter. And her daughter is an adult. She was in nursing school and
Mm-hmm.
she had a roommate who was also in school with her, and she lived with her fiance. So it was like her and this couple friend, and they were together. So she gets the doll and she's like, cool, mom, thanks. And she immediately kind of starts noticing that the doll is never positioned the same way. And at first she's kind of like, maybe I'm not seeing that right, or thinking her roommates are fucking with her. But of course, they're kind of like, we're not touching your fucking doll. And so then she tests it one day and she like crosses the doll's legs and she comes home and the legs are uncrossed and she's like, fuck this doll. So then she's like, get out of my room. And she goes to try to put it in the living room and it just keeps coming back. So then she's like, I don't like that. So then they call in a psychic who was a friend of a friend. And the psychic's like, don't even worry about it. It's the spirit of a little girl. She's cool. So then they're kind of like, oh, little girl, cute. Uh, right. And then they start getting notes around the house and that are like in children's handwriting. So the movie kind of got that right.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're kind of like, who the fuck is doing this? And then they start thinking, I think it's the fucking doll doing this. But in my mind, okay, so this is apparently a true story, but Raggedy Ann dolls don't have fingers. I'm just saying, how would she write anything? I don't even think they have a thumb. Aren't they just
No, that's why
straight
I put
up?
my thumb away.
Yeah, they're
She's
straightened up. Like,
See?
right? Like, she,
This is trying.
I like your shoes.
But then these bitches, they took it up a notch. They had a seance.
Did
Did
they
you
in
know
the
that?
movie have a seance?
Not in the movie. I'm
Oh
talking
no,
about
no,
in
that's
real
right. We are
life.
talking about true story now.
Yeah, the true
Um,
story. They held a seance with this fucking doll.
I did not find that story or
Yeah,
that
they
part
held
of
a
the story.
seance.
They had the psychic, and then mine kind of jumps to the doll does some more moving around, but then the boyfriend starts getting fucked with, and
Mhm.
he's like, "Get rid of this fucking thing." And they're like, "No, I like it."
Yeah, it started scratching people and like
Yeah.
started
So
acting
then
malicious.
notes around the house, and it got super serious. Oh, she tossed a radio around, and then the boyfriend was like, "Don't like that." And then she came home one day, and she apparently found what she felt like was drops of blood on the hand and chest of the doll. But there would be no reason in the house for this doll to have blood on her. Um, so that was super creepy. And she was still cool, but then Lou was asleep on the couch one day, and he would claim that Annabelle would give him nightmares, but no one really took him serious until one day he said he was sleeping on the couch and woke up to Annabelle on his chest choking him, and he couldn't move. And then when he finally could move, he tossed her across the room. um but even then it says Donna still was like, "Nah, I like her too much." So then Lou started getting scratches on him, and so at that point, then they went and talked to a priest who was like, "Hey, you want to see the Warrens?" And the Warrens come, and they're like, "That's not a spirit, that's a demon, and it's gonna kill you." So then they were like, "Well, you just take it. You take it." And it
Yeah,
did
they just
say
take
they
it.
let the Warrens. They did say they let the Warrens do an exorcism on the house, so maybe that's the seance you were talking about.
No, they did a seance like on their
Oh,
own. Yeah.
uh,
They like
see,
a stupid little idiot
did they pull the Ouija
friends.
board out?
I don't remember if they got a Ouija board or not. I didn't write that down, but they did hold a seance like within
Yeah.
themselves to try to like communicate with her because they thought, "Oh,
Never try
fun
to
little
communicate,
girl."
man. Never do it.
Stupid. But yeah,
Yep.
they did. The Warrens did their little whatever. They
Yeah.
cleansed the house or whatever, and then they just took the doll, and then
Yeah, they took the
that was
doll.
it.
And then you will see this. They show this in another movie. I think it was the Annabelle movie, but maybe not. Might have actually been the last Conjuring movie. But anyway, so they're driving down the road with Annabelle, and they decided not to take the interstate because they said that Annabelle would fuck with their car, and Annabelle did apparently fuck with their car. Allegedly, she cut the engine off 3 times, almost causing him to run off the road. They finally get her home, where she escaped within their house multiple times and was tossing chairs around and stuff. And that's when they got her in the super extra special holy wood, water, glass, Bible verse, priest coming every day, lockbox, and that is all that's holding her now. And legend has it that she's still killing people who come in and laugh at her or tell jokes. That her power is still powerful enough to fuck you up if you offend her.
Yeah, you want to know a fun fact?
Let's
So,
hear it.
Ed and Lorraine's the thing that they would do is they would go and they would investigate all of this shit, right? And then suddenly, not too long after doing their investigation, a book would be published by them. That was their thing, right? About 5 years before they published the Annabelle story, there was an episode of The Twilight Zone that came out, and it was called The Living Doll. And the doll in the Twilight Zone episode's name was Annabelle.
Stop it.
I'm just saying.
Oh, now I'm gonna go find that Twilight Zone episode so I can watch
I'm
it and be like, this looks real familiar.
I'm just saying. Funny little coinky dink. Whatever.
All right, so then I did put, because I knew you already have a lot of Warren ammo in your thing, and honestly, I don't feel like yes, they were main characters in this movie, but other than putting it, their only main purpose was to be the demonologist, which, yes, that's true. In real life, they were proclaimed, well, he was a proclaimed demonologist, she was a clairvoyant. They went around and investigated houses. So, yep, they got that right. So I just put a tiny little history blip here. The Warrens, it was Ed. He was a World War II vet and ex-cop who became the self-proclaimed demonologist after teaching himself and studying this. And then his wife, who claimed, Lorraine, who claimed to be clairvoyant, they founded in 1952 the New England Society for Psychic Research, and they
Mm-hmm.
gained notoriety after their investigation of the Amityville hauntings. And though
Mm-hmm.
Ed would die in 2006, Lorraine did participate in the making of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And she would claim in interviews that she did not let them go too far off narrative. But I'm calling big time bullshit on that. Like, just just already. Uh yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
that's all I really wrote about them, because that's, I feel like the movie didn't really bring us much more into their lives. They do actually have a
Mm-hmm.
daughter. She is
Mm-hmm.
an adult now. She now owns the business with her husband. Um, they died. Lorraine actually just died, like in, I want to say maybe 2020, 2019.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
was old,
it's
old.
she died yeah, April 18th of 2019. She was 92.
Yeah. So, anything you want to add about them?
I mean, so they have a funny history. So Ed claimed that he grew up in a haunted house, and because he grew up in a haunted house, he was always very interested in hauntings and ghost stories, whatever. And they met when they were teenagers in the 40s. Now they were not too far apart in age, but he was like an usher at a theater, and she went to the theater with her friends. She saw him, and she claimed that she saw a vision of an older Ed and then an older her, and that she just knew that they would be together. Some like stupid like soulmate woo woo bullshit, right? Um, and they get married or whatever. He joined the Navy, I think, and one of his ships sunk. I Nobody knows what happened. And yeah, he did serve during World War II. He when he went home for leave, he married Lorraine, and then they had their daughter Judy. Now, when he left, he went to something called the Perry Art School, which was apparently a subsidiary of Harvard, but there's no real info anymore on this school, and he didn't actually graduate. So what he would do is he would make a bunch of paintings, particularly like making paintings of houses, and they would just sell them out of the trunk of their car on the street. That's how they made money at first. And then so Lorraine has always said that she grew up seeing auras, but she didn't really believe in anything. She was a skeptic, right? Um and because Ed was so obsessed with haunted houses, they would look up haunted houses and drive to them, sit out on the sidewalk, paint the house, and then they would go up to the house and knock on it and be like, "Hey, so your house is haunted and I painted it for you. If you let me come in, I'll let you have the painting for free." And on their website, it specifically called this a quote unquote friendly gesture. Not creepy or weird at all. So that's how they got started in doing like these haunted investigations, and the more they did them, the more Lorraine like leaned into the whole mystic stuff. I mean, yeah, they founded
That would
the
not go well for them these days.
no. They founded Nesper in yeah, 1952. It's apparently like the oldest. It's still around, still going. They have a whole host of people, medical doctors, researchers, members of the clergy. They were really close with a lot of members of the clergy, but to hear Ed tell it, he was like the only one allowed to do anything ever, the only one they would listen to, which is not really true. They claim to have had over 10,000 cases. He wrote, like I said, every single time they would have a major case or anything that had any little sprinklings of possibly being a major case, they would write a book about it. They got tons of books out. And then, of course, after Ed died, they started doing all the movies and shit. Um, someone, I don't remember where I got this quote from, but someone said, quote, sometimes they only had to show up and talk into empty rooms where angry spirits dwell, dust their hands off and leave. Other times they had to be more hands on, end quote. So, like, can you imagine you just walk into your house and they're like, get out of here, ghosts, and they're
All
like,
right,
all
guys,
good.
high five.
Yeah,
High
I'm
fives
gonna
all
write a book
around.
about this now. Like, just
So I guess the movie got that part right. Ed's just able to walk in and go,
get out of here,
"I,
ghost.
I send you to hell." All right, guys, feeling good. It's feeling good in here. You feel that? That's Jesus. You're clean. I'm at it.
That's funny.
I'm out.
It's funny that you say that because Lorraine, when she would talk about people who would criticize them, she would say that everyone's issue was that they didn't believe in God, right? And she said anybody who criticized them for anything, they just didn't have Jesus. That's it. They just didn't have Jesus. But they used to train people, including a guy by the name of John Zaffis, who is apparently their nephew. And he had a sci-fi show called The Haunted Collector for a while. So
Ooh.
they did used to go out and train people, but it's the more you look into all of their specific cases that are the most popular, the more it's like a lot. There's a lot of instances of them coming in and doing whatever and either not fixing anything or even making it worse. There was one family that eventually told them to get out because they were so tired of everything going on. And then they would go back home and write a book about it and sell that book, whether the family wanted them to or not. So, like, it, like, there's even if you look at like the Amityville case, um, in 1979, there was a lawyer by the name of William Weber, and he said that him and the author of the actual book of the Amityville horror book, they, along with the occupants of the house, invented the story over quote many bottles of wine. So, and that's their most famous case.
We'll do that story. We got. Let's do that one next week. But I will say,
Okay.
because that one has more. Because yes, they did come out and say that, but I will say, there's one photo associated with that case that's just
Hmm.
fucking creepy as fuck. Like,
Yeah, well, Ed used to take a lot of photos too,
well, it's
and
not one of
like
theirs though.
I
So I
know
will
it's not
say
one of theirs.
it's
Yeah, I
actually
know.
taken
It's
from the very first family who was just
yeah, I
taking
know which
a
one.
photo by the stairs.
Yeah, I know
So
which one you're
fucking
talking
creepy.
about.
So fucking creepy.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, listen, I'm not saying that there were no instances that they were investigating. I'm very much a believer, and I believe, yeah, there probably was some shit going on. What I'm saying is that I cannot find very many records of the Warrens coming in and actually like fucking doing good shit. Like
Yeah.
most of it is them coming in and being like, "Oh, I see demons everywhere. There's demons. Let us fix it for you." And then they write a book about it and sold tons of copies. And now they had this entire, like, obviously, Ed didn't live to see all of this. He fucking died. But their estate had all of this back catalog of people just taking the stories and redoing them and redoing them. And like, these are real people. These are
Yeah.
real people that had real experiences, and y'all just came in and were like, "Hey, this is a good story." Like the haunting in Connecticut, that movie, when they did that investigation, they hired a writer to actually write that story, and the writer was like, I'm not understanding. Like he said that they were super inconsistent. The stories that they were telling him about this haunting in this house were like they were not adding up or anything. And Ed, apparently, Ed supposedly went and told him and was just like, "Oh, those people that live in that house, they're crazy. You got some good pieces there. Just use the pieces of the story that you can and just make the rest of it make the rest of it up. Just make sure it's scary."
Ooh.
So like, excuse me, like what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, no. And then there was the time that they went in 1989, they flew to London to investigate a case about a man who could turn into a werewolf and attack people. But he wasn't like listen, I need you to understand me. He was not growing fur. He was not like he was not becoming anything. He would just act like a werewolf. Be like, ah, ah, and like
I
attack
feel it.
people. It's coming. Like, so the Warrens went out there and got him, and for some reason, I don't know why, they brought him back to the United States to perform an exorcism. Doesn't make logical sense. You're in fucking London. You're closer to the Vatican. Why would you put a werewolf man on a
And
plane
why
in
are we
the
doing an
80s?
exorcism? Since when are werewolves exorcisable?
They did an exorcism on him, quote unquote, and now he's totally fine. And yes, they wrote a book about it.
All right.
They wrote a book about it. And then at one point, they wrote this is another movie, and I can't remember the name of the movie. But it's they call it David's Demon, and it's the one where he's like possessed, and like the sister's boyfriend yells at the demon to like come into me. Do you know what I'm
Oh,
talking
that's
about?
Conjuring 3. It's the
Yeah,
newest
that
one.
one.
Mm-hmm.
So they did this. He stabbed his landlord and everything. The church wasn't going to claim it. They didn't want to be involved with them at all because, again, you can't prove this shit in a court of law. And this man has full on killed somebody. We're not touching it. But the Warrens were like, "Yeah, we'll do it," right? And they asked them. And they were like, somebody interviewed them and were like, "Are you going to write a book about this one?" Because at this point, they've written all these fucking books. And she said, quote, "Will we have a book written about this? Yes, we will. Will we lecture about it? Yes, we will." And then they were like, "Well, are you talking to writers and like movie producers?" And she said, "No, we're not. Our agents at the William Morris Agency are." And then she claimed
Nice.
that the demons followed them home and made their pets walk backwards. Do you see? It is so stupid. It is so stupid and it is so sad. These people are having real problems. These people are having actual issues. They're
Yeah.
experiencing things. And then you have the fucking Warrens come in and take that and turn it into profit.
Yeah.
Insane. And even with this, even the movie that we just watched,
Oh yeah, they
I,
totally did. So I got some quotes from her. So most of the info comes from the eldest daughter, Andrea Perrin, who wrote her
mm-hmm,
own book. She's written 3 books about this situation
mm-hmm,
already. Um, so the parents moved to Rhode Island in the winter of 1971, and the farm. Okay, so I will say the acreage was 200 acres, which is a
mm-hmm,
shit ton.
mm-hmm,
With their 5 daughters. Now, the house that stands today and is they say is the same exact house that they grew up in, blah blah, is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, like it's very rustic. I can't say log cabin, but very like this
mm-hmm.
looks like wood. Anyways, but in a lot of articles I was reading, I was like, I don't believe that. They kept saying it was a 14-bedroom
Yeah, big ass house.
huge home. And I was just like, okay, so how did it go from 14 bedrooms to 3 bedrooms? Like,
And also, don't buy a fucking 14-bedroom house. There's too much room for
that's a lot.
ghosts in there.
Well, I was
There's
at
too
first, I was
much
like,
room.
man, whew, 5 girls in 3 bedrooms, that's a lot. And then I was like, but 14, what are these people, millionaires? 14 bedrooms? Like, so, but apparently the house is still on the original foundation from the 1800s. You can go stay there. It's a B&B now. Soon they would, once they said they moved in, and it pretty much started immediately with little things like she would back sweep her room, and immediately turn around and the dust pile would be right back where it was that she just swept. Little things moving around the house, and they did claim to hear clapping, and they had a situation with the clapping game, but I was kind of like, that doesn't sound like a ghost. Sounds like you made a dumb decision. But where the one of the middle sisters, they were playing the clapping game, and she climbed into a pine box, and nobody was finding her, so she was like, okay, well, I'll just get out. And
And
she
it's
goes to
stuck.
push up the lid, and it wouldn't fucking open. So then she was like, fuck, I'm gonna die. And then eventually her sister just comes in and opens it like it's nothing because it was just a fucking box, and was able to get out. So they were like, oh, the ghost trapped me in while we were playing the clap game. But the ghost would clap, force knock on things. She even said they saw like full body apparitions, and they were cool with this. So it seems like, I'm not reading the fucking books, so a lot of this is very like put together. But she specifically, the oldest daughter would see full body apparitions, and she claims that like sometimes they would look back at her like she was the ghost, and this caused her to have a belief in the whole more of like a timeline situation or like parallel universe situation over like this is a dead person stuck
Mm-hmm.
here type situation.
Mm-hmm.
And her little sister did have a friend named Oliver that even when the Warrens do show up, she doesn't tell them about Oliver because she doesn't want Oliver to leave. Oliver was a good ghost child, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. And the mom is the only one who hates this house and is apparently getting tortured. Everyone else apparently loves their ghost buddies. And she even says that she would get tucked in at night by a ghost that would kiss her on the forehead, and she at first thought it was her mother doing it. She just wouldn't open her eyes, but then realized it wasn't her mom because her mom smelled like some other kind of soap, and this ghost smelled more like flowers and honey. And I was just like, I don't believe you. Like, I believe you that scent might fly by you or something, or like cold spots. I don't believe you as a child to be that comfortable with just full body adults walking around and like tucking you in at night, and you're just like, this is the best fucking life ever. Cool story, bro. Like, I don't believe you.
No.
So then they said it did start getting scary though, because a male entity kind of came in, and she says he's highly abusive, but she won't go into any stories because they're just that scarring and terrifying. But he brought in a rotten egg smell that would walk around the house. And then one day the mom was sleeping on the couch, and she felt a stab in her calf. So she reaches down thinking she got stung by a bee, which I was like, just midday. That's some
In the
farm life shit right
house.
there. But my first thought on the couch is like, I don't know, but it's not a bee. Like, like so, but she's bleeding and there's a needle prick in her. So that's where the whole idea that this is the woman Bathsheba. So we got a little history on Bathsheba. Did she really exist? Yes, she did. But she did not sacrifice her child. She didn't hang herself. She lived to be 70. But she apparently did kill a baby that she was watching.
Allegedly. The baby died.
It's alleged, but the baby died with a needle in its head on
Well,
your clock. So I'm
a
gonna kind of
needle
go,
mark. It had a needle mark. They didn't actually find a needle. It just had like a puncture wound
yeah,
where it
I'm still
looked like it
going. I
might be a
think Bathsheba killed
needle.
that fucking baby. Like, because she apparently also was known as a very abusive person to her staff.
Yeah.
And like would
Yeah.
starve. So she was a shitty person.
Right.
She was put on trial for witchcraft, which I find weird because at least the articles I was reading, it wasn't like we're putting you on trial for murder because we think you killed a baby. It's we're putting you on trial for witchcraft, which I was like, fucking 19th century, man. Like, so she got off. She had to quit because there was no proof, but everyone else didn't trust her. They were like, nah, you killed that fucking baby. We don't want nothing to
Yeah.
do with you. And she lived out
Yep.
her life. Her husband lived out his life. And Bathsheba did exist, but because of the whole needle situation, that's why Lorraine Warren was like, "Oh, you got stabbed with a needle? Bet that's Bathsheba," and that's how
Yep.
the main evil entity got known as Bathsheba.
Yeah. And the folklore around her is that when she died, even though she was old, when she died, they said that she was like turned to stone. Like her
Yeah,
body turned
I
to
didn't add
stone and
that
like
because I
freaked
thought it was super
doctors out.
stupid. I
It's so
refuse to just add
stupid.
that. But yeah, that
It
is
is
apparently a part
so
of her
funny.
lore that she just died and turned to stone. And
Petrified.
yeah,
Like
I was like, no, she didn't. You've put her in a box like everybody else. Like, um, so then that's when the mom starts getting attacked that way, and the girls start getting yanked out of bed at like the clocks didn't stop at 4. I mean at 3. They stopped at 5. Of course, I'm pretty sure Hollywood was just like gotta keep it with the 3s and the 6s and because demon stuff. Um, so she claims she claims to love this house and still wants to buy it today, but it's like $1.2 million. It is for sale though, if you want it. So she can't afford it, but she says if life allowed it, she would go back. She loves the house. She loves the ghosts in the house, and she stays there whenever she can. Because like I said, it's a B&B right now. They didn't move out into the 80s until she was 21. And she claims that so Lorraine had some interviews later on, and when she worked with the movie, she did claim, like, yes, they came to the house, yes, they investigated, but she claims they did not do an exorcism. While Andrea claims, yeah, you did, because I watched you do it. I was in the basement when you had my mom down there, but she's claiming that and these were her words, the Warrens committed spiritual malpractice and they kicked open a door to just have a conversation and let something in that attacked and almost killed my mother and tossed her around, gave her a concussion. So she had this whole article just talking about if anyone says they're like a professional or whatever, just walk away because there's no such thing. We're all fucking reaching in the dark here. Nobody knows
because
what the fuck's happening.
the,
And so they are a family who says the hauntings lasted even after the Warrens left, and they are one of the families who kicked the Warrens out because the Warrens would keep coming back, fucking around with shit. And then after this incident of the mom getting a concussion, the dad was like, "Don't fucking come back," and
they're
go.
just some guy. He's just some guy.
Yeah,
He's not sanctioned by anyone. He doesn't have any like actual information. Like
yeah,
he's just some guy coming into your house and fucking around with things and then writing a book about it.
yeah. I totally believe. So I'll say this: I am a believer, and I do believe they probably saw shit, and they do see it. So I did watch because I really love BuzzFeed Unsolved.
Yeah.
And they did an episode in the Conjuring house. I was like, well, it's only like 20 minutes. Let me watch this too.
Mm.
So they're just so funny. And they had some doors moving in even their episode and stuff.
Yeah.
And some whispers caught. So I'm not saying this house is not haunted. But what
No.
I am saying is I think people saw some notoriety and just kept making that fish bigger. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. 100%.
shit moving and some knocks here or there became I got fully tucked in by a ghost who kissed me on the forehead and smelled like lavender. You know what I mean?
As a
Like,
child.
yeah. Or she even says that she saw another ghost dressed in like 18th century clothes who looked just like her. So now she believes in reincarnation. And um they also they even I found an article where they went and back to the house in 2021 with the dad.
Hmm.
Other it was all the sisters other than the youngest because she apparently died of a fentanyl overdose. And they did like a Ouija board moment. Oh, this was crazy. So they did like a Ouija board moment, and they had not a Ouija board. They had one of those. Do you watch the ghost shows where they're hunting, and they have this machine that like just goes fast
Translates.
through radio stations?
Oh yeah.
So it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mostly static, and you'll just feel like, and the whole idea is that the ghost can control the waves to get the words out,
Yeah, yeah,
kind
yeah.
of giving them a voice. I think it's what it's called, a voice box, something like that. Anyway, so they used that, and they said they kept getting the word weeping, and her name, Andrew. And the interviewers were like, "Oh, were they threatening you?" And she goes, "No, I think they were just picking up on my sadness." Because I guess she had a granddaughter die in like a flood that happened in Tennessee, which horrific. Don't get me wrong. But I do feel like it's a weird flex to be like, have like this demon house and what is to me just like clearly a threat. It's clearly a threat. And you'd be like, oh, they just know I'm sad. And that's
They're
what they're
so
talking
in
about.
tune with me. They know me
Yeah,
so
they're
well.
not saying they want to make me cry. They're saying, I see you're crying. You know what I mean? Like,
The
so
hubris, just the straight hubris
yeah.
that you have to have.
And apparently Lorraine, because they still talked, like they were on set together. She also was on set at the
Yep.
movie to talk about
I
things.
think she's one of the only people that was still like, absolutely, all for Lorraine. Like,
I don't.
uh,
Well, I don't know if it's all for Lorraine, but at least civil enough with Lorraine. But I guess
yeah,
Lorraine, because she had told her how she would love to go back to the house and stuff and own it, and Lorraine was like, "You will die if you ever live in that house again." And she was very much like, "Just because it's unknown doesn't make it evil." Which, to me, I'm just like, can we? Y'all are like those people. You remember in Independence Day, the people who were like, "We love you, aliens," and they're like the first people to get shot with the laser. Remember
yeah.
that? That's what you guys are like. Like,
Zero self-preservation skills.
just no. I feel
Zero.
like it's those movies, the like comedy ones where the guy just standing there with the knife, and they're like, "Oh, do you want a party?" And you're just like, "Stab!"
Hello, hello.
Yeah,
Like
I'm.
it's like cuckoo world. It's like you're
Yeah, in what
insane.
realm? I am all for not necessarily criminalizing your unknown, but I am for, let's keep a healthy distance until we know what we're dealing with. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, like you don't just run out into the woods. Like you don't
yeah,
run out into a cornfield just all willy-nilly. Like no, don't
yeah.
fucking do that shit. Like
It doesn't make sense. Stop it.
chill
Stop it.
out. This is one of
Stop
the
welcoming these
instances
things.
this is one of the instances where you need to listen to southern people. Okay, you need to
Yeah,
listen to the country people. We tell you no,
don't
no,
do it. Don't do
no.
it.
You don't
Mm-mm.
hear anything, you don't see anything, you don't that is none of your business.
They're
It
not
has
your friends, bro. Not
nothing
your
to do with
friends.
you.
Like, God, even if we are talking timeline theory or whatever, where they're not even ghosts, you're just
Yeah,
looking in
you
the
wanna
past,
blow a hole in the whole fucking
right?
timeline?
You want
Have
to
you
affect shit? You
have you
want
watched
Abraham Lincoln to
Loki?
notice you at the wrong moment and
You
duck because he's scared? Like, then he
butterfly
doesn't get
effect?
shot, and now everything's different. You know what I mean? Like,
Either that or you're gonna be picked up as a variant and reset on the timeline. Like,
right?
what are you
It
expecting?
doesn't
I
matter
can't
what your tinfoil hat is, every single one of them is going to lead you to death. Stop it. You stop it. Like,
it's just common sense. It
put
just
the
doesn't
Ouija board down. You don't need to talk to it. No,
quit poking the bear.
right? You
Stop
don't need to do
being
this. Put it down. Something moves in your house? No, it didn't. You keep walking. You didn't see that shit, okay? It didn't happen.
and stop
Mm-mm.
looking out the window at night. God,
Who
Jesus.
does it? How? I want to know the psychopath you have to, not even psychopath, just what kind of privileged life,
Well,
fairy tale
okay.
land did you grow up in that you could have a wide open window and not feel the utmost of uncomfortable? Like,
I will say, like, I can understand it if you're from like the actual city where there's like you're like apartment buildings, there's street lights, there's people walking around all the time, there's noises
no,
out there. I
only
can
if you're like on the 20th floor. And
that's what I'm
even then,
saying.
I still close my curtains. That shit still scares the shit out
Well,
of me.
yeah, I do that. Like I even when I lived like in full on apartment buildings with lights everywhere, I still didn't look outside. But I can understand why it wouldn't seem that big of a deal to someone from that type of area to be like, "Oh, yeah, what the hell's going on out there?" and just check real quick. But if you're in any type of other area, even if you're in like a suburb, it's none of your business, my guy. Like so sorry. Someone was to come knock on our door in the middle of the night. I'm calling the cops immediately.
Oh
And
yeah,
I don't
that's what
call the
the best
cops.
you're getting out of me is a 911 call.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's
it.
just, I'm a fucking
I'm
woman,
not
bro. Don't come banging on my door.
I'm not
Like,
doing it. I'm
no.
not doing it. We're not looking out. I have Since we've been in this house, there has been one night where I have actually looked out the window at night, and it is because we had fucking tornado warnings going off, and my
Mm.
boyfriend decided that was the perfect time for him to go play basketball. So I
Sure.
was looking out the window looking for fucking funnels, freaking out. That is the one time that I have looked out. And we don't live in the middle of nowhere. But I'm still not going to do it. We have blackout curtains everywhere. Whatever is happening out there, it's has nothing to do with me. I don't
Mm.
have to know. I don't have to know it all. And like a lot of that, when you're talking about country folks, a lot of that is not even like supernatural. A lot of it is just literally, like, if you hear, like, a woman screaming in the middle of, like, the country, sure, it could be something supernatural, or it could just be a fox acting fucking crazy, or it could be a fucking cougar acting fucking crazy, and the last thing you wanna do is run into either of those animals when they're acting fucking crazy in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with you. You let nature be nature. Let nature be nature, and you leave it alone. Crazy. That woman is insane. Now I kinda wanna read her book just to see how fucking nuts it is. I
I
don't
do.
wanna pay for it. I wonder if it's at the library. I'm not paying her for it.
Actually, I
But
don't want to pay for them, but I do want to read them and just see how each one gets more and more unhinged.
yeah, she
You know?
sounds absolutely bonkers, and that is coming from somebody who is certifiably bonkers. You
Oh
sound
yeah,
insane.
she like it starts out like oh yeah, and then you're like, wait, what? What
Getting forehead kisses.
happened? What? What was that? So yeah, that story, and I like these stories. They're pretty good stories,
They're
but
fun. Yeah.
yeah, they're fun. And I do honestly the history of Bathsheba really fucking interesting. Sticking needles in children's heads, like
Yeah.
there's
And
a
they
cool
do
history to back it up, and that's why I
yeah.
do like ghost stories because they do end up having history. You know, like, and I just love
Right.
history.
It's interesting. It's interesting when you think about from, like, a folkloric, like, lens of, like, how these things come to be when you're talking about, like, ancient ghostly things, even
Mm-hmm.
talking about, like, the Bell Witch where I'm from, and, like, all of these, like, even the inconsequential ones, like, there's a road where I'm from that is the worst to drive on at night. It's literally in the middle of nowhere. There's no street signs, there's no markings on the roads at all. Um, but that's not the scary part of driving down the road because it splits off and you come to kind of a fork where you can continue on, or if you turn right down this road, then you'll head towards town. Um, but in that corner, there was a girl, and if I remember the story correctly, she was involved with a bunch of moonshine runners, and she turned coat, and she got one of them arrested, and they took her out into the middle of this field, into the woods, and they cut her tongue out and they hung her in a tree because she blew their whole
Yeah.
fucking operation. And that wasn't even that long ago. This was like 70s maybe. But the folklore on that road at night, nobody goes there. Nobody goes down that road in the middle of the night because they're like, fuck no, I'm not fucking around with those. Like, you don't take that back road at night. And it's so interesting how, like, the story can, like, twist and turn into, like, this big thing that makes everyone freak out and be like,
Yeah.
"Pff, I'm not fucking with that road anymore. Like, I'm not going there." Like, the stories themselves are so crazy how
Oh
they
yeah. I
change
have so many
and
books.
evolve.
Like I have spooky. stories of Virginia. I have so many Virginia ghost books, and that's one reason I really love living on the East Coast. We love our fucking history over here. And there's so many places like, look at this old town, look at that old town. Here's an old house to
Yeah.
go sit in. You know, like I love it. And I will go to every single one of those places and buy every book to listen to every story.
Yeah. It's so interesting. It's so cool to go through those things. Have you seen a picture, right? The picture from their house, the Perrin family's picture.
Which one? I only saw their like family photos like of them.
Oh shit, you haven't seen this. Hold on. Hold on.
Oh
You haven't seen this?
no.
That's the sister. I think this is like their grandma, and that's one of the other sisters. And supposedly, this was taken on one of the nights when the sister got reached out of bed, like yanked out of bed. And the grandma's like, "Oh, this is one of my favorite pictures in existence because okay, look at her, right? She's just like, oh, and then you got grandma over here being like, oh no, and then you got her like flying."
Right?
This is the werewolf man.
Stop it. Is that the werewolf man?
I'm 100% serious.
See,
And then
these are the things that make it hard to be a believer. Okay. This is what non-believers pull up, and I have to go, look, I'm not talking about these things, you know? Like this is
literally, look,
ridiculous.
her legs are up. She jumped. She full
She
on look,
clearly
the
jumped.
sheets and the
Ghost is
blankets are still tucked in. She's been
yeah.
tucked in by her ghost friend, right? There's nothing disturbed here. She's fully just jumped,
Oh
leaped
my
up off the
god.
bed and
Now
did
all I
like
can picture
Karate
is
Kid.
that mommy ghost is standing there and has like just tucked her
Woo!
in
Like
and gave her a kiss, and she just like ah! And the ghost like, oh, what is happening?
what if she's lifting her up like they're going like
Like, who's the
woo?
baby? No, this is
Man.
clearly very this is a lot of bullshit in this photo gallery right now. This is
The
a
werewolf man is my favorite with the priest standing here. He's
see now we're gonna have to watch like Teen Wolf or something, and I'm be like, this is connected to this true story. I'm gonna make it connected.
Oh my god, I'm not even
So we
lying.
can talk about Wolfman.
I'm not even lying. Here's my notes for hours. So the fucking werewolf. I even said he would turn into a werewolf, but not like Derek Hale. He just pretended. He wasn't Derek Hale,
He
okay?
wasn't
He
cool
didn't
like
have that.
Derek.
This
He
man
wasn't.
does not have the Hale family swab. Okay, I'm so sorry. You Peter would eat you alive.
Oh my god.
You're
That
welcome.
is priceless right there. That was glorious. That's glorious. I will now be starting every show going, welcome back.
Ah! Oh no,
tonight.
it's taking me over. Imagine being on the plane with that guy. Can you imagine? I would want a refund. Please refund me my money. I can't believe I have to deal with this.
I'm speechless. People actually took that serious. Like that's where you almost have to be like, maybe the Warrens weren't just being money hungry. Like maybe they genuinely believe their own bullshit. And
They
that's how
did.
they could hunt this guy down and be like, look at us save this poor wolf man, you know? Because
They
any
did.
actual business minded person who's doing this for business purposes would have looked at that case and been like, well, let's not put our names on that one. Let's
No,
go
they
over
were taking
here.
everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Everything they could get their hands on, they were inserting themselves into it. Like they 100% believed their own bullshit, but then they would see here's what I think. I think that Ed knew what he was doing. And I think that Ed did not believe as much as he got Lorraine into believing, because she was a skeptic. She, even though she could see like auras around people, she didn't start off having like these visions at all. Like, she didn't start having like ghost narcolepsy where she would sink it. Like, that's, she didn't start out that way. She just saw auras and like orbs around people, which is a thing some people claim to be able to do. I think that he sucked her into it, and his
Yeah.
obsession became this huge thing, and then he realized that he could make money off of it, and he started inserting them into everything. But I think Lorraine, and if you, so she, I used to watch my favorite ghost hunting show, my favorite ghost hunting series ever is Paranormal State, and it's about this group in they were out of Penn State University, and they had their little ghost hunting like club, and it turned into a TV show where they would go and they would investigate hauntings and shit. And the main guy was super good friends with Lorraine. So she would come on these investigations with them sometimes, and she 100% believed everything that she was saying.
Yeah.
100%. She was in it all the way. But Ed, we don't get a lot of footage with Ed. We don't get a lot of, because he died in like what, 2006. But I just, the quotes that I've seen from him, I don't believe that he bought into it 100%. I believe that he wanted to be the big dog. Like, I'm the only one that can do this, and I'm not the church won't give me the accreditations because of politics or whatever.
Yeah.
I think he wanted to be that, but I don't think he believed it all 100%. I think he knew what he was doing.
Mhm. Well, on that note,
This has been an interesting episode.
I think, you know, I'll give this movie 5 out of 10 for getting it close to the true story, because I think the first half does seem to be what they were working with. But once again, I think the final half they went really fucking weird with, and
Get the hell out of here.
yeah, killing the whole kid thing. I don't know. You added some unnecessary things there, but for the for what you're working with, it sounds like you stuck with what they gave you. So I think they got it. Which is, hey, I think it's gonna depend on what you believe in. But they stuck with the story they were given, so it was pretty good. So next week we'll see what we're doing. Actually,
Are you
we
gonna
still
make
got
me
to have.
watch Amityville?
You want to do Amityville next?
I said, are you gonna
Amityville's
make
next
me?
week, guys.
God damn it.
Amityville next week, baby. And I gotta learn how to do that share the screen thing so I could put up the creepy fucking baby picture. Bye, everybody.